Okay, here we are, and we've got a final issue to discuss, and the issue is Brexit. And Boris Johnson, it would seem, is now going to, well, he's not going to get us out on Halloween, the 31st of October, despite my assurances to you and all our listeners that he would do so. And we are not going to have a no-deal Brexit, despite my assurances to you and all you listeners that it was a deal or no-deal situation by 31st of October. No, we're having a deal. Boris has negotiated a deal. He's going to put it to the country if he can't get it through Parliament, it would seem. And what is he? Is he mendacious and self-serving? Is he a liar? Boris Johnson is Marmite. Marmite is that spread you put on bread in the United Kingdom, which tastes rather smelly, and some people love it and some people hate it. Some people love Boris Johnson, some people hate him. Is he a Nixon or a Nelson? Both of them were liars. President Nixon lied about Watergate when he sent his men in to spy on the Democrat headquarters during an election campaign, and that led to his downfall ultimately, and he had to resign or face impeachment. Admiral Nelson, when he was Vice Admiral of the fleet in 1801 at the Battle of Copenhagen, he lied. He held a spyglass to his blind eye. He had his eyes had been blinded in battle previously, and when he was told to retreat, and the ships were right in front of him, and he was told to retreat because they thought defeat was inevitable, he held a spyglass to his blind eye and said, "I see no ships," and sailed right on into battle, and won, as it happened, luckily for him. But anyway, yes, there you go. Quite a British hero. We've got a statue of him in the middle of Trafalgar Square, and he sits on top of a pole. I don't know that we're going to do the same to Boris Johnson. We'll see. Is Boris Johnson mendacious? Is he a liar? Well, not really. Not in the sense of either Nixon or Nelson. But he is self-serving. We have a word for that. We call it tendentious. He is self-serving. Boris is self-serving in the way both Nixon and Nelson were. And I'll tell you a little story about these two words. And because it just... it amuses me to do so, and it's in the matter of public record now. It was once secret. There was a team, including myself. I led a little group that went out to Iraq in October 2000 as one of a number of missions that went out at that time at the behest of Peter Hain, the Minister of State for Foreign Affairs, who was keen on war avoidance. Everybody could see war coming. Peter Hain wanted war avoidance, and so some of us went to meet Tariq Aziz. We had to go overland. There was an Iraqi that took us in, a man called Burhan Chalabi, who is Maslawi, and he took us in, and along with... myself went Anthony Harris, the outgoing British ambassador to the United Arab Emirates at that time, and with this little team went romping into overland through Jordan, up and across and down to Baghdad, long drive, and we because you couldn't fly, of course, in those days, sanctions and all the rest, and we got to Baghdad, and we met, in due course, Tariq Aziz, and gave him an offer. And this is public record now these days, so it's no longer confidential. The offer was a paper regarding the financial modalities for the suspension of sanctions, and it was endorsed by Peter Hain and meant the virtually immediate suspension of sanctions in return for a gesture on the part of Tariq Aziz, which was the inspection of the palaces. because the palaces were vast, of course, and they were the one area where weapons inspectors were not allowed to go. Later they were, but at this critical time they were not. And Tariq Aziz, one moment he could be as sweet as sugar than with his fat Kahiba cigar, which he was always chewing, and the next moment he turned into some sort of mean tiger. Talk about split personality. He was an extraordinary man. Anyway, he said no. He said no way. And we were sent off with a flea in our ears, another British expression. And our mission failed. And later there was, of course, war. And as we were leaving Iraq, the dear old Anthony Harris coined a word. It's what we call a malapropism. It's a word that's not really a word. He said, "Oh my goodness, that man, Tariq Aziz, he's really tendacious." Well, he was misusing a word, but basically, he was combining the word mendacious for lying and tendentious for self-serving. And he said Tariq Aziz was tendacious. You won't find it in the dictionary, but anyway, it was Anthony Harris's word for the man. Tendacious. Is Boris Johnson tendacious? No, not really. But he is self-serving. He is tendentious. He hasn't... I don't think he's a bad guy, personally. And I think we're kind of blessed to be getting this whole business of Brexit over. It's going to take a little longer than we anticipated, but not too much. So God willing, we're going to get there, and Britain will go on in this convoluted shenanigans. Is anybody tendacious? Well, the members of Parliament are, aren't they? Have you ever seen such a shambles? They're a mendacious, tendentious lot. They're truly tendacious. The sooner we have a general election and get rid of most of them, as we will, because we do have a functioning democracy in Britain, thank God, as we will, we'll get rid of a swathe of them. That'll be a blessing. It'll just be a joy to see them go and have a fresh scene in British politics, because Parliament has really been a disgrace in Britain. There you go, but that's my opinion. I know that it's yours. You might think Parliament's doing an excellent job, and perhaps you're right and I'm wrong. I have been wrong on a number of issues lately, so even I am not perfect, I'm sorry to say. God bless you. This is the end of my little set of broadcasts on Hello London Radio today, and thank you for being with us. All the best. Bye.